Welcome to the Fashion Translator. I'm Claire, your host. Together we explore how AI and innovation are reshaping the fashion industry through creativity, technology, and global partnership. For today's episode, I'm thrilled to welcome Nisha Blackwell, founder of Knotzland Bowtie. Nisha, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself and the company.
Claire, thank you so much for having me. I'm Nisha Blackwell, founder and CEO of Knotzland Bowties here in Pittsburgh, PA.
Tell us a bit more about how it all started.
Yeah, so Knotzland started in 2015. Well, we were incorporated in 2015. We actually started in 2014 when I stumbled upon entrepreneurship. I actually taught myself how to sew to gift my friend's daughter a really special gift. And that gift ended up being a hair bow. I took the hair bow to the party. People got really excited and I left with customers. And so that was my first sort of entrepreneurial bug.
Very interesting. And there's an element also about recycling in the story.
Yes. So when I thought about the idea of making a thoughtful gift, I wanted it to be using things. Obviously, I was actually back in school. So I was a college student and I didn't have a lot of money. So I had to be resourceful, but I also wanted to be resourceful in saying what are the things that I have right here in my home. So I had a bag of thrifted clothing and a sewing machine. And that bag of thrifted clothing was actually the first source of fabric that I used for the hair bows and then into bow ties.
I think with sustainability being such a big topic these days, it's an approach that customer can definitely see the value and something that makes the brand special.
Yeah.
When it comes to build the fashion brands around that, what have been some creative way that you're exploring these fabric and how you play around with the different texture, and tell us about how this comes together with the creativity.
Yeah. So I'm so glad that we're going to talk about this a little bit because I think when people see our ties, they see this just beautiful piece of wearable art. But what they don't see is a lot of the technical things that go. It's every tie is different from a chemistry standpoint because we are using sustainable materials. So sometimes we'll use upholstery fabrics, which is more in the interior side of textiles, or we'll use someone's grandfather's t-shirt, right? And those are very different ways that you have to approach the design process that aren't often seen in the finished product. It takes a lot of material discovery, material manipulation, material breakdown. And that knowledge has actually started to grow over the past 10 years that we've been in business. But when we first started, there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of getting it wrong.
I can imagine. Not only the fabric reacts differently, but then you'll have to adjust the pattern and then the stitching method will be different. Some of them will need fusing, some of them are already stiffing up,
Exactly. I mean, you just have to have all of the things that you would potentially need. Like every time I design a collection, I have to think about do we have enough interface? Do we have enough of a variety of interface? Do we have the appropriate needles that would help meld the two materials together? Because sometimes two materials don't really play well in in a sewing machine, right? And I think that perspective has really been super additive to me as someone who is self-taught and not necessarily technically trained, because I don't get sort of held back by this idea of these go with this. It's all discovery.
Yeah. Creating as you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course. Tell us a bit more about your process. Do you prefer to start with idea, mood board, or the fabric, or what inspires you? Walk us a bit through your process.
So I've dabbled in many different creative process, especially sort of that first stage. I'd say my default is sort of more intuitive. It's more what textiles am I gravitating towards? What palette do we want to work with in this moment? What textiles am I loving? A lot of times, if I'm working on a collection, I'll come across textiles and fabrics that I actually want to use, but I have to be disciplined and say, those can go in this pile and you can rediscover them when it's a better time. And that's something that I've had to grow as a designer, that editing process as well. But I will say I usually default to material first, material and color. And then I will do some sketching and other sort of things that get me to that like perfect collection. But fabric is so tactile. Like you feel it, you experience it, and you become inspired by like the movement and the drape and all of those things.
Yeah, it's a great starting point for sure. And what would you say, which platform, which channel has made you connect with your community the most? Where are your customers finding you easily?
That's a really good question, because like over the past 10 years, it has often shifted. In the beginning, a lot of it was Facebook, because I'd say my first customers essentially were people that I went to college with and people who were close to me. Before I had that opportunity to get out and do markets and different shows and advertising. But it gradually then kind of went into Instagram.
Yeah.
I'd say Instagram had become a really solid place for maybe not necessarily customers, but advocates and cheerleaders. I'd say our customer leans more towards like physical media, like magazines and paper mailings and things like that, postcards. And so we get a lot of success from that now. And I think it does kind of hit back to that like timelessness and that tradition and the classicness of a bow tie. I think we just have that customer who likes to experience things differently and maybe not necessarily online. And also we are a slow fashion company, right? So people are also drawn to us. I was telling someone the other day, like when you come into our shop, you have to slow down. Like you are, of course, the average customer spends about 30 to 5 minutes in our shop because they are really thinking about, And I know I didn't realize how rare it is to have someone in your space for so long, but it's because it's an experience. Fabric is an experience. You start to think about like, ooh, if I get these two, how does this integrate into my wardrobe? I mean, that's the beauty of accessories and their unique positioning and sustainability too. And how you can like essentially enhance the things that you already own through accessories. So it's a beautiful thing to be a part of.
Definitely. And they're made with such care and such attention that it's like a piece of art. So of course people are drawn and you want to look at all these small little parts and all these small little details.
Exactly.
And you mentioned cheerleaders. Tell us a bit more about some collaboration you were excited about with, or some of those cheerleaders.
Yes. So most of our cheerleaders are collectors and enthusiasts, bow tie aficionados. But on the collaborative side, we've been able to reach new and exciting markets because we collaborate with different people. I've collaborated with a lot of artist friends to release limited edition. I mean, from something being hand painted, like we did with a friend of mine, Daryl Kenzel, a couple times, as well as a friend, Nora. She actually did some portraiture, like beautiful women, prominent, inspiring women's faces on bow ties. That was really beautiful and expansive. And it just took the realm of art and wearable art to a different level because a lot of times folks may not be able to invest at the moment in an artist's larger piece. So they will select something that's a little bit smaller, but that they can wear and still represent their favorite artist. I really love those collaborations. Yeah, so I have a friend who I have a recurring collaboration with. Her name is Imani, and her business is Catherine Trends. And she actually curates blazers and a collection of blazers that she turns into a cropped blazer. So it's like, traditional like oversized or men's blazers, and they're reworked and remade into cropped blazers. And the pieces that she cuts off the bottom to, essentially take and put through their process, she gives them to us, the leftover pieces, and we turn them into bow ties. So now we've been able to offer our customer a matching bow tie jacket, and that's been like super duper popular.
I'm sure, because this matchy trend is really happening now, and I think it's not going away. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's very exciting. I want to come back also. You said you were talking about like these artists now paints even like women's faces, and I think it's beautiful because it's not only ties art with wearables, but also storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it was for women's history. So we had Frida Kahlo, we had like different civil rights leaders. And so Rosetta Tharpe, it was just like a compelling connection between like a women-owned business, a woman artist, painting women for women's history. And it was just impactful and powerful. And those are bow ties that some of I'd say our collectors, they will maybe wear every once in a while, but essentially those ties are stored in shadow boxes. Like it's like a piece of art, like, they might wear it. But I love that duality too, where like you have this piece of art that you can also wear, but you can also display it in a display case. Yeah.
It's a very nice, I like this duality also. It's like it's precious and yet you can take it with you.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful product. If we think about, again, like the community, and what are some of the feedback that you get from the people that are coming from your store, and how you stay connected with the pulse of your clients?
So the feedback is usually, I like to share that when people come in here, they often will come in because they were referred or they saw one of our ties out in the world, and they will say, you always know a Knotzland bow tie because that person not only has a great bow tie on, but they know the story and they're excited to share the story. So they will tell you it's sustainable. They will tell you it's woman owned. They will tell you it's handmade and handcrafted, and they will give you all of these details. And that is a true testament to the storytelling, right? Yes. And the storytelling that gets to happen both online, but also in the physical space, because when you when you visit the physical space, it brings it all together because everything we've curated here is all Second Life. So we haven't purchased anything new for the space. It took us a long time to curate a space that has like all secondhand and, thrifted materials. But I think that then just seals the deal. Like, wow, I've entered into a realm where I am not just wearing something fashionable, but something that has a lot of meaning behind it. And I say, like, what people get even in the mail is this cute little box and this little bow tie, this beautiful bow tie. But behind that is just so much more. And they're just a part of that like community. And so that has been one of the most rewarding parts of running Knotzland.
Yeah, I can imagine. When they receive it, it's like the tip of the iceberg. It invites them to look further and get involved.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like that in itself, it's a beautiful experience and a beautiful opportunity for the customer. More and more people are looking to brands they can feel emotionally committed to. They want something deeper, stronger, especially when we think about technology, AI, and everything is growing. We feel as human the need to counterbalance this with more depth, more humanness.
More connection.
Correct. And to have in the physical store, I feel like what you're building there is really solidifying the vision of your brand.
Yeah, for sure.
Which aspect of your business would you say currently has most of your focus?
Surprisingly, I would say our growth in the wedding industry.
Really?
We have never really been a wedding first brand or never promoted that we were, in the wedding space, but we have had a continual, consistent boom in weddings since COVID, essentially. Like it's like that's the industry that recovered us after COVID.
Yeah.
Like we still have a lot of our retail customers and things, but the weddings have taken a lot of our focus because they are done hand in hand with our bride and grooms. Like we're co-designing collections that are going to be one of the focal points of their wedding day. And so that by default takes a lot of our attention, but it's also really special. And I think it has impacted how we see ourselves and how the world sees us, because we've started to make this shift from like this scrappy brand to like a brand that is respected for some of your most important moments in life. And I think that weddings have really solidified that for us.
Yeah, wedding are definitely like events that are a point mark in time and an event that is going to be special forever. So I think everything that comes into it. When my student job, I was florist for weddings, and I remember this space is like everything that you can bring that is magical. Like it's just such a joy to provide, to add this. Like you just want them to be happier, and everything that you can to make it extra special it's a joy from what I remember.
And then on the other side of it is, a lot of times the focal point is the bride or the person wearing the dress. And so we've brought a different sort of special charm to the other person who is in the wedding and who may not be as much of the focal point in terms of garments. And so taking we work with a lot of suit designers. And so having a suit designer refer their clients to us in this beautiful tailored suit. And now we get to be that thing that just takes it over and just like.
Yeah, the final touch, the sparkle.
That final touch, and the groom had a say, or the other person had a say in that design process. And so that is just like has taken us to a new level.
Yeah, I think there's an expansion to foresee there for sure. For sure, wedding, but then that can also open the door to any other, like proms. I think just on top of my head, but there must be so many.
Oh, proms are starting to grow. It's another one of those spaces where they're getting more elaborate, and not just the girl, but the date is becoming more elaborate as well. And
but so should they. They deserve their spotlight also.
It's an occasion. It's a special moment for, both parties. And so the ability to grow and expand in those markets and be like that part of that, like time and space for so many people is just, it's a reward within itself.
Yeah, I can imagine. So aside wedding and events, looking at the next 5 years, what are certain things that are on your target or in the horizon for the brand and for yourself?
Yeah. So the next 5 years, we really wanted to. So I'd say the previous 3 years, especially I had a baby, I was coming into motherhood. I was uncertain of if I could even do the things and pour the amount of energy into the business that was needed. And so I slowed down. And so we were just kind of in a stabilizing, although I would say we were in a stabilizing space, we were still incrementally growing somehow. And so now I would love for the next 5 years for us to just laser focus on serving the people in the markets that we serve really well and even better. And that includes just not necessarily making more products, but improving the customer experience. And I think the customer experience is really top of mind, because being a new mom and having to apologize for certain things and being a little bit behind on certain things, our customers have been so kind and so gentle and so rewarding that I want to invest back into them in ways in the next 5 years. and have them leaving even happier than they are now. So that is really kind of our focal point.
Well, for sure, Nisha, that we'll be keeping an eye and an ear and everything on what's going on for you and for Knotzland. There's a lot of exciting venture and exciting development for the future. So for our listener who would like to connect, for sure, there will be all the handles in the description. And Nisha, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Claire. I really appreciate you having me and just like sharing our story and all the things. And I wish you all the best. And I hope that this podcast just blows all the way up.